Congress member Ro Khanna is under attack by billionaires in Silicon Valley because he is supporting a wealth tax on people like them in the state of California. Now, Ro Khanna didn't always have this position. In fact, about a year or so ago, he said the exact opposite. Let's go ahead and bring this in here. I'm going to tell you why, Ro Khanna, I guess, trying to tap dance with the billionaire buddies in Silicon Valley has become problematic. Ron pointed this out here. Ro Khanna in 2024 was against taxes on unrealized capital gains. Let's go ahead and get into this because apparently he has changed his position.
Let me tell you why I don't think a blanket tax on unrealized gain is a good thing. I mean, let's say you're an entrepreneur. You create a company. It gets to 100 million or 200 million on paper. Now, if you're taxing that, you're probably going to force that person to sell it. They're probably going to sell it to private equity. Do you really want the entrepreneurs to be forced to sell their companies to larger institutions and to decline in value? I don't think that that's what you want for a startup ecosystem.
Unintended consequence. Jeff Bezos wouldn't have to do that. They're going after these very, I think the whole policy is demagoguing to go after these people that they say pay less of a tax rate than their maid does, and they have billions of dollars.
I get why, but this is not the right way to do it. And also 95% of investments in startups fail. And so you're going to disincentivize investments in those startups. Let me tell you why.
Okay, so that was Ro Khanna's statement in 2024. He apparently has changed his position. He is backing the wealth tax in the state of California, his home state. And this is really interesting because what it shows you is that Ro Khanna apparently is listening to what the complaints are about the Democratic Party. My comrade Nick Cruz interviewed him on RBN a couple of months ago, and he made it very clear to Ro Khanna that, listen, this is why you guys lost, right? You're not out there fighting for the working class. And of course, also foreign policy. People are tired of these wars and they did not support what was happening to people in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, right? So he's changing his position because he's trying to move towards this affordability issue that a lot of people have been complaining about. I would say the 99%, right? So he changed his position. But what I want to say here is that you have to remember that Ro Khanna has been known to go along with those Silicon Valley buddies because he's had fundraisers with them, which I'm going to show you as well. You can't have it both ways. And that apparently is the case for him because now his billionaire buddies that he had fundraisers with are now trying to implement some type of primary challenge to him. Because now he's not moving towards their interest. He's moving against their interest, and he's promoting a policy that is not something that's going to make them happy because it's going to cost them more money. I don't give a damn about billionaires being, paying more taxes because I feel as though they should. So their hurt feelings don't really mean a damn thing to me. When you are a billionaire, you have a lot of money, a lot of money. I don't think people realize how much $1 billion actually is. You do not become a billionaire unless you exploit the workers. So these are people who exploit workers. And once upon a time, Ro Khanna was willing to tango with them. And now because he's supporting this wealth tax, they are going against him and actively looking for someone else to champion him. Here's his recent statement here. It's a matter of values. We believe billionaires can pay a modest wealth tax so working class Californians have the Medicaid Your Party cut. He's speaking to Ted Cruz. Texas ranks near last in healthcare, education funding, and worker protections. Meanwhile, we still have an 18 trillion innovation economy because of investment in education and science and attracting hardworking immigrants. Happy to show you around the valley anytime. So he's speaking to Ted Cruz, who said, please continue driving all the job creators out of California. If anything, 5% is too low. Why not 50%? Texans enjoy the prosperity. So there are a lot of people who have left California and moved to Texas because the cost of living is cheaper. Both of them have points here. Ted Cruz is an asshole, But the reality is people just can't afford it anymore. If you were to Google right now, go on to Redfin, go on to Zillow, look at the cost of homes in California, all of it, not just Los Angeles, not just San Francisco, the entire state. Look at the cost of homes. It's ridiculous. The average person in California will never be able to afford to buy a home. There's that. Then there's this Medicaid situation, right? So he is saying take that wealth tax from the billionaires and use that to fund Medicaid in California. Now, I live in Massachusetts. We have a wealth tax here. It was implemented just a couple years ago, actually. That money is used to fund free breakfast and free lunch for students at public schools here in Massachusetts. When it was entertained, there were a number of the wealthy people here that said, I'm going to leave. I'm not paying more taxes. Those people are still here. So you're going to hear that type of fear mongering. We're just going to leave. The people are going to leave, and then you're going to be screwed. Oftentimes that is not the case. The people end up staying there. But because he changed his position on this, now they are trying to remove him. Again, these are the same people who supported him for quite some time. This is what happens when you work against their interest. Khanna hits back as Silicon Valley oligarchs threaten primary challenge over California billionaires tax. We cannot have a nation with extreme concentration of wealth in a few places, but where healthcare, childcare, housing, education is unaffordable. That came from Khanna. Again, tapping into this affordability issue that's been going around. Khanna defended California's proposed tax on extreme wealth Saturday after a pair of prominent Silicon Valley venture capitalists threatened to launch a primary bid for his California House seat. The proposal, which advocates are gathering signatures to place on the ballot in 2026, would impose a one-time 5% tax on those who have a net worth of over $1 billion to recoup about $90 billion in Medicaid funds stripped from the state this year from the Republicans' budget law. The roughly 200 billionaires affected would have 5 years to pay the tax. So that's how many billionaires they have in California. So it sounds like this is going to be a ballot measure. California is a ballot initiative state. So is my state of Massachusetts. People ask me, like, how is it that we've been able to pass some of these progressive policies here in Massachusetts? A lot of them were done via ballot initiative. And the way that works is that when you go to vote for Congress members, senators, when you vote for sometimes the president as well, but even also some of these local races, there are ballot questions on the ballot for said policies. Like one of them was the right to repair, which we passed. Another one was legalize recreational marijuana. I voted for that many years ago when I don't even smoke marijuana, but that was one of them. There's been a number of them that we've had on that ballot, right? And so this is a way for people to have direct democracy where the people are voting for the policies that they want instead of voting for a politician and hoping that they would pass legislation to support the policy that they want. And I have argued for a long time, and shout out to friend of the show, Roger Meadows, who put me on, board about this. This is really where I think the fight is going to be at the local level. I think we're going to see more success with some of these progressive policies via the states instead of trying to get this done via the federal government. Now, every state is not a ballot initiative state, but oftentimes what happens is that when these BI states pass certain measures, it puts pressure on the states that are next to them or adjacent to them to also do the same. So I think that this should pass. I think it is important. I think billionaires should pay more taxes. I do not feel sorry for these people. I don't feel sorry for people that exploit workers, period. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a musician. I don't care if you're an actress. I don't care. You need to pay more. Let's go on here. While higher taxes on the super rich are overwhelmingly popular with Americans, see again, popular. The proposal has rankled many of California's wealthiest residents as well as California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, who said earlier this month that he is against the measure. Of course he is. Everyone remember this when he runs for president in 2028. He supports the establishment. On Friday, the New York Times reported that the two of the Valley's biggest power broker, venture capitalist, and top Trump administration ally, Peter Thiel, and Google co-founder Larry Page, were threatening to reduce their ties to California in response to the tax proposal. Again, just greedy, disgusting people. Peter Thiel, by the way, is the one who created JD Vance. Never forget that. This has been a common refrain from elites faced with proposed tax increases, though data suggests they rarely follow through on their threats to bail on cities and states, even when those hikes are implemented. What did I tell you? They usually don't go. Remember when Bill Ackman said that he was going to leave New York if Zohran Mamdani became mayor? And then after Zohran Mamdani won, he said, okay, I'm going to see how I can try to work with him. Yeah, this is bullshit. They're just calling your bluff. We'll move on to this part here. Khanna, who is both a member of the House Progressive faction and a longtime darling of the tech sector, has increasingly sparred with industry leaders in recent years over their reactionary stances on labor rights, regulation, and taxation. In a post on X, the congressman reacted with derision at the threats of billionaire fight. Peter Thiel is leaving California if we pass 1% tax on billionaires for 5 years to pay for health care for working class, facing steep Medicaid cuts. I echo what former President FDR said with sarcasm of economic royalists when they threatened to leave. I will miss them very much. So being sarcastic there, they're highlighting the tweet here from Crystal Ball. Tech oligarchs are now openly conspiring against Ro Khanna because he dared to back a modest wealth tax. And it is modest. 5% is modest, right? Now, this is coming from Teddy Schiffler. Shellifer, I forget how to pronounce his name. Some tech leader donors are now talking about primarying Ro Khanna. So this is Martin Casado. Martin Casado, from what I understand in the past, supported Ro Khanna, right? Ro has done a speed run alienating every moderate I know who has supported him, including myself. Beyond being totally out of touch with that faction of his base, he's devolved into an obnoxious jerk. At least that makes voting him the fuck out all more gratifying. He responds to what Ro Khanna is saying here, that Peter Thiel leaving California, you know, he's happy about that, basically. Gary Tan says, time to primary him. Martin says, count me in, happy to be involved at any level. So here's the problem, folks. This is why I said you can't have it both ways. You can't say that we have a problem with the billionaires. Billionaires need to pay more money. And then you're attending these fundraisers that these same billionaires are a part of. Or you're trying to befriend the billionaire class while also attacking the billionaire class. And Ro Khanna has been known to do that. David Sachs, you'll see in a second. David Sachs, Bill Ackman, like Ro Khanna has found a way to kind of get along with the billionaire, you know, tech bros, and at the same time support some of these progressive policies. And when these people raise money for your campaign, they are raising money for you to do their bidding. These billionaires for years have donated money to political candidates to do their bidding, to vote for said legislation that is going to benefit them. When they donate money to you, they are not donating money to you to go against their cause, to go against them. That's what a donation means. A donation is not, I support you because I think you're cool. A donation is, I support you to do this for me. And once you start to go against the donor class, the people who are donating to you, then you have a problem. So David Sachs, a lot of them, they've done fundraisers for Ro Khanna before. Now, Ro Khanna will tell you he doesn't take super PAC money. That's true, he doesn't. But he's had fundraisers hosted by these tech billionaire bros. And they're not investing their time and money into him for him to go against their policies, for him to support policies that are going to make them pay more money. That's not how it works. So that's why I said you can't have it both ways. Right now, Khanna, just a couple of weeks ago, just made a video endorsing, what's his name? Tom Steyer in California for governor. Tom Steyer is a billionaire. So you can't, it's like you want to endorse billionaires who you think may be good billionaires. There's no such thing as a good billionaire. Billionaire means you exploited the working class. So you can't say you're for the working class, but at the same time, you're supporting this billionaire because he's a good one. No, he exploited the workers. So you're endorsing a billionaire, and now you are implementing or trying to promote a wealth tax that is going to obviously affect those same billionaires. And now they're turning on you. And that's what politics is. It's just money and gangsters. So it goes on here. Casado donated to Khanna's 2024 re-election campaign. You can find this on Open Secrets. So here you go. So you see, the people who donated money to him are turning on him because now he wants to implement policy that's going to impact them. These people have a lot of freaking money. They can pay a wealth tax. These people also have been known to have offshore accounts. They know how to play the game. They know how to work things. But you know who else is very, very knowledgeable about the game? Poor people and people that are working poor. If it's a group of people that know a lot about money, a lot of people think it's just billionaires that know about money. It's not just billionaires that know about money. If it's a group of people that know a lot about money, it's people who grew up poor, people who are poor, people who are working poor. You know why? Because they can tell you the price of every essential item. They know how much a gallon of milk costs. They know how to stretch money when they've had to do so. They know how much gas costs today and can probably tell you when they have to refill their tank again, or how much mileage they can go before they have to people who have been in these situations, they know this because they're living in a capitalist system that is not working for them, and they've had to stretch money before. And that's what the billionaires in California are afraid of. They're afraid that if this question goes on the ballot, all those people I just told you about, the working poor, the poor, lower income, hell, even middle class, that they're going to vote for it because it's time to make the billionaires pay. Because everybody else is being taxed into oblivion. Because they see the cost of groceries increasing, the cost of gas. They see this on a daily basis. Whereas people like David Sacks, Bill Ackman, and all the rest of these billionaires in California, do you think they know how much a gallon of milk costs? Do you think that when David Sacks goes to the grocery store, if he even goes, or if he has someone do the grocery shopping for him, do you think that he has to stop and think, let me see how much this costs? I might have to put one of these items back because we may not be able to afford it. No. They don't have to look at life that way. Many of us do. He goes on to say here, let's go down here. So far, neither Casado nor Tan has hinted at concrete plans to challenge Khanna in 2026. If they did, defeating him would likely be a tall order, since his sophomore election in 2018, a primary challenger has never come within 30 points of unseating him. So this is where we're at now, folks. Here's Bill Ackman. Of course, you know, he had to say something about it. Proud Zionist billionaire Bill Ackman. On the topic of billionaires and wealth taxes in California, I'm opposed to wealth taxes because they effectively represent expropriation of private property and have unintended and negative consequences that have occurred in every country that has launched such attacks. No, he's opposed to it because he don't want to pay more. He doesn't think billionaires should pay more. I think Bill Ackman still lives in New York, but he's buddies with David Sacks and all them. They're in California. He's opposed to it because he doesn't want his buddies to have to pay more money. I am strongly in favor of a fairer tax system. To that end, it doesn't seem fair that someone can build a valuable business, create $1 billion or more in wealth, and pay no personal income taxes by living off loans secured by stock in the company, and even if those loans are unsecured. Apparently, this approach is used by many super wealthy people. A small change in the tax code would address this unfairness. In short, personal loans taken in excess of one's basis in the stock of a company should be taxable as if you sold the same dollar amount of stock as the loan amount. One shouldn't be able to live and spend like a billionaire and pay no tax. This is where people like Bill Ackman will kind of, squeeze his way into a progressive lane. He's sneaky. Well, I support some type of tax reform, but not this one. I'll get the fuck up out of here. Bill Ackman doesn't support anything that's going to benefit the working class. He made that very apparent during Zoran Mandami's campaign. Well, I support some type of tax fairness, but, and by the way, he's one of the ones that didn't build. He's another one that inherited wealth. He came from a wealthy family. After he graduated from Harvard, he went to work for his daddy. So it kills me how they try to pretend like they built everything from scratch. He goes on to say here, I have a bunch more ideas on other changes to the tax code that are hard to argue with if anyone cares. So why do we need to listen to what Bill Ackman says? So you see the problem. These billionaires have donated to these politicians. They've controlled a lot of these politicians for a long time. You're supposed to stop what you're doing and you're supposed to listen to his ideas. The majority of working class people are never heard. I don't see these politicians, most of them anyway, going to the workers, going to the working class and asking them what they think would be beneficial. But these billionaires have a direct line to these politicians because they donate so much money. Millions. Now, these people donate millions of dollars to political candidates, but they got a problem with a 5% wealth tax because that doesn't benefit them in the long run. David Sachs is another one. To be clear, the Billionaire Tax Act in California is not just an unrealized gains tax. It's a 5% across the board confiscation of net worth. It applies even if one has already realized and paid taxes on the entire amount. No one cares, David. No one cares. Pay up. Pay up. Net worth. The numbers show that younger people are not establishing a net worth that's significant, that's going to help them down the road, because we live in a time where this empire is falling, where capitalism is failing. This billionaire is whining about his net worth when he owns something that the majority will never, ever even be able to have. You have all these young people graduating from college with mounds of student loan debt. You have AI taking a lot of these jobs, which Elon Musk has been warning people and telling people about. Graduating from college with student loan debt for a job that may not even be there by the time they graduate now. Your net worth is what you own minus what you owe. So if you have mounds of student loan debt and you don't own anything, your net worth is in the negative. And the fastest way to net worth is home ownership. So when I tell you report after report that younger people aren't able to buy these homes, they're not becoming homeowners, and they have student loan debt, they are not building generational wealth. They are not building a positive net worth. But this billionaire who exploited workers is complaining that he may have to pay a little bit more. These people have looked out for themselves for the longest time. David Sachs was one of the ones who hosted a fundraiser for Khanna. This is why I say you can't have it both ways. David Sacks and his wife had a fundraiser for far left. He called him far left loon. Ro Khanna isn't even what I call far left. Before Ro Khanna. I just want to remind everybody about this because I called this out when it happened. I was like, why the hell is Ro Khanna having a fundraiser with David Sacks? At the same time, David Sacks was endorsing RFK and Donald Trump. He was supporting both of them at that point in time. You see how these people, I told you, see how these billionaires cross across political ideologies? They just donate to whoever they think is going to benefit their cause. This was the fundraiser. Please join Jacqueline and David Sacks for a dinner reception for Congressman Ro Khanna, representative for Silicon Valley in California's 17th district. That was March 30th of 2023. Look at the cost. Look at this. This is the plate level. Leadership circle, $13,000. For the couple, leadership circle for individual, $6,600. The champion, $3,000. The cheapest ticket was $3,300. This is not a fundraiser full of working class people. This was a fundraiser full of rich people. And so David Sacks was totally fine with Ro Khanna then. Hell, that was just 2023. And Ro Khanna was fine with David Sacks at that point. So do you see how you can't work with these people? You can't. You can't get out here and say, I endorse Tom Steyer, who's a billionaire, but also I'm fighting for the workers and the working class. You can't have it both ways. And some people say, well, Sabby, why get so flustered about it? Because it's ridiculous. Because the average American right now is dealing with this. Listen to this woman here.
So I know everybody is feeling this, but how are we doing this? I am in my 30s. I have my master's in business administration. My husband is an engineer. We should be making great money and be golden when it comes to money, right? That's what I was raised thinking. And instead, just like everybody else, we are living paycheck to paycheck. Like, it is so hard. We have a house. We were lucky enough to get a house. I know a lot of people can't do that and haven't had that opportunity. But our house mortgage has gone up $400 or $500 since when we first bought it. Property taxes, they just keep going up and up. So with that, our mortgage just keeps climbing too. We have 2 kids. With kids comes diaper prices, comes formula, comes everything else that comes with it, including daycare. Daycare. We were able to find a daycare that's actually pretty inexpensive compared to a lot of other daycares. And even with that, it is still costing more than our mortgage does every month. I'm just so tired. And I know everybody is in the same boat too. Prices are going up for literally everything. Everything. But when it comes to pay, our paychecks will go up, a couple percent, but nothing compared to inflation on everything. I just don't understand how we keep doing it. And where's the breaking point? Where does that come in? When do things turn around? Because there's no end in sight. Everything that the government has put forth lately is only going to make things more expensive for us in the long run. And again, I say this knowing that we are still very privileged. We still have a lot of things that other people do not, but it's still just such a struggle. We're given this promise basically when we're younger that if you get the degree and you do this and do that right, then you'll be set, you'll be golden when it comes to money and not have to worry about it. And then to grow up and face the fact that all of that's bullshit. They fed it into being such a lie and such a trap, basically, that everybody is just buried in different student loans. Everybody is buried in different kinds of debt that we'll never get out of, that they promised us would create a safe and happy thriving future. None of it's there. So thanks, boomers and beyond. You set us up great.
She's blaming the boomers, but she really needs to blame the billionaire class and capitalism. So she needs to go a step further. But I totally understand where she's coming from. She's right. People think that because you have a house, like, people have to understand, when I say everything is going up, the property taxes, yes, they continue to increase. We were sold this bag of goods. We were told, go to college so you can get a good job. And for people that point fingers at those who took out student loans, it used to be that you had those student loans, but once you got into your field, like, the salary that you would make would be able to pay for that and more. The problem is wages haven't increased to adjust for inflation. And that's been a problem with my generation, those of us that are millennials. And it's a problem with Gen Z as well, and all the other generations that are coming behind them. I'm not kidding when I say I don't think we ever got back to where we were prior to the '08 housing crisis. But you got David Sachs and Bill Ackman out here whining and complaining about a wealth tax. Those people are fine. Those people are set for life. Their kids are set for life. Do people understand that? Do people understand that billionaires, like, when they have children, their children basically inherit billionaire status because their parents are billionaires? Do people not understand that? They're fine. They're set for generational wealth. We have come to a point in this country where the average American is not going to obtain it if things don't change. And I'm not saying obtain billionaire status. No. I'm saying just even obtain generational wealth, something that you can pass down, whether it's home ownership, whether it's a business that you can pass down. If things continue the way that they're going, the average American will not be able to ever obtain that. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.